is reasonable mastery of life skills. What that basically says is on a day in and day out basis, I can problem solve. I can figure out how to program my GPS. I can figure out how to make some of the functions on my phone work on a regular basis. I can kind of get along okay. Second is caring attachment to others. I need some people in my life who care about me and for whom I care about. And they gotta be the same people. Some people who care about me, if I don't care about them, then I don't. If I care about them and they don't care about me, then I gotta have some people. And I would urge us to consider when we look at that natural support group that we have, our friends, our colleagues, our families, and so on, that we make sure that in our friendship group, our caring attachment to others, we have some people with whom we are not related by blood or marriage. We want some folks outside the tribe a little bit, outside our own family tribe, outside our in-law family tribe. And somebody with a different perspective. The third thing that he says, and this is the one that I suspect is underrated, but maybe most important. And he talks, this is about meaningful purpose in life. And Ray says it doesn't matter what it is, but it's something in your life for which you have some passion, something in your life that gives you an excuse to get out of bed in the morning. For some of us, it might be our work. For some of us, it might be our families, our kids, our grandkids, in my case. For some of us, it might be stamp collecting. It doesn't matter what it is, merely that we have something in our lives for which we feel meaningful purpose in doing. And oftentimes when we're under a lot of stress, oftentimes when we are confronted with not enough time, it's the thing that gives us meaningful purpose that we stop doing and paying attention to. When we look at suicide rates in our country today, the two, by percentages, the two groups that are at highest risk of suicide, kids, and that bottom that used to be about 14 to 20 something, now it's dropping, the lower end is dropping down, and white males over the age of 65. Highest risk for suicide based on statistics. White males over 65, why is that? Kind of it probably has to do with this, again, idea of meaningful purpose. What's the second question you tend to ask somebody when you first meet them?
What do you do?
What do you do? White males over the age of 65 who might be retired are suddenly no longer doers. A preacher talked about a year or so ago, and he said that he was announcing that he was going to retire. And he said, one of the key ingredients of retirement is you should never retire from something. You should always retire to something. So what's this next stage going to be? Because apparently there's just so much golf, so much fishing that any one human being can do, especially on certain kind of days. So what is this, what gives you in yourself a sense of kind of meaningful purpose? Okay, and if it's the work, it's okay, but it means that we have to define where our work gives us that meaningful purpose. Looking for the successes that we have with kids in those smallest steps. Because when you're working with kids, you're trying to help them look at every step they take on a journey towards more functional living, all right? You want to celebrate every step that they make, not just the big ones, but each step that they make, each day, each minute. So where can you celebrate those same kind of things? Where do you get your meaningful purpose? Okay, because that's the thing that's going to get us up in the morning. That's the thing that's going to keep us going in our profession. Do you like what you do most of the time, every day? And if your answer is no, Good idea to do something about that. Good idea to do something about that. Because we spend a significant amount of our time at work, or being involved in our families, or whatever your daily activities are. Interestingly enough, about 20% of folks can give a pretty strong yes to that. If you're not part of that 20%, what do you need to do? What do you need to change to be able to turn your no more towards a yes? Where do I need to re-change or reframe my reference to be able to celebrate that most of the time, most days, I kind of like what I'm doing. And if not, I need to start doing something different. I need to change my world a bit to get to a yes to that answer. Okay, so how's some of the ideas to manage some of these kind of ways of doing it? Step one, if we're going to manage kind of the work, is getting organized. Prioritizing our work tasks. So one of the ways of doing this, either the night before or the first part of the workday, is so what are all the things that I would like to get done today? What are all the demands? What are the things that got to get, that in an ideal world I could get done today? And write them down. And then when I look at this list, I have to look at the list and say, which of these things, if I don't get them done today, the world will come to an end. And there'll be some. Okay? I got to get this report finished, I got to get this done, da, 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 da. There'll be some. But it won't be your whole list. Okay? What are the things that got to get done either today or tomorrow, or the world will come to an end? So now you got a prioritized list of the things that are most urgent. At the end of, then you take a look at it in which of these things that got to get done today, or the world will come to an end, don't I want to do the most? Because that's the number one thing that you do. That's the first thing you do. Don't save it for last. Get it done. Because after you get that one done, everything else can do, it gets done. So do the hardest one first, the next hardest, the next hardest. Because when we save the worst for last, we're trying to tackle it when we have the least amount of energy. Physical and or mental. Also, when I'm looking over all this list, my third question is, of these urgent things that got to get done today or tomorrow, which ones am I the only person in the universe that can do it? Is there some opportunity for legitimate delegation? So years ago, when my sons were still at home and driving, when they turned driving age, I bought a tank. I bought the biggest gas guzzling car that was available. I wanted the tank so when they ran into things or people ran into them, increased their likelihood of survival. And gas guzzling because it reduced the amount of driving they would actually do. Okay. And so the gas guzzler license plates were due, and I had failed miserably in my responsibility for sending a check to the Secretary of State's office getting license plate tags. And they were going to be done in 2 days. And I'm looking at my schedule going, oh man, I don't have time to go to the Secretary of State's office and spend a couple hours sitting there waiting. I got all these meetings, I got all this stuff kind of going on. How in the hell am I going to drive that? And suddenly the light bulb went on. I don't drive that car. I don't care whether it's got license plate tabs on or not. My sole responsibility is to write the check for the dollar amount, get the registration, get the proof of insurance together, 3 pieces of new paper. And I went out into the living room and announced to my sons, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I didn't mail in the thing, so that means somebody has to go to the Secretary of State's office and present this thing and get the new tabs. You got 2 days to do it, because if you wait till past Friday, it means you'll have to walk to the Secretary of State's office. So your choice, do it whenever you want, but you got kind of 2 days to do it. And suddenly the stress levels went off my shoulders. The next day when I got home, my oldest son came up with the new license plate tab and everything. Here it is, Dad. He said, no, goes in the lower corner of the, I don't have to do that either. I don't have to do that either. I don't have to take on that responsibility. Okay, so which of these things? Am I the only person in the universe that can do it? And there might be a few. But there might be some that you can legitimately handle. So prioritization of the tasks over the day. The other thing around it is, and this may be a different step in here also, but the other thing is, so how do I organize my day for maximum efficiency? How do I set aside time to get the task done? How do I turn off my phone? How do I not look at email? Just because it comes in does not mean you have to look at it. Does not mean you have to read it right then. How do I set aside time periodically through the day to do a quick review? Because I don't want you to go cold turkey, not looking at your phone all day. But where can I minimize those interruptions? Because emails, texts are great interrupters. Phone calls coming in, great interrupters. If we really need to get something done, how do I put focused time in doing it? Okay, that's that structure of time. It'll work. Take breaks. Taking breaks. Way back in the olden days, when I first started, you couldn't have coffee at your desk. You actually took a coffee break. And you were assigned times in the Department of Social Services in those days, in which you went down to the staff lounge and you could get coffee, and you could still smoke indoors in those days, for those of us that had that vice. But you were required to get up and leave your desk. Well, you weren't required, but we all did. So you took a 10-minute or 15-minute break. In today's world, we don't generally do that quite as much, and some of us will even sit there and be eating our lunch while we're doing work. Probably better off taking 30 minutes to get away from that desk, get away from kind of the environment, chill out for a minute, and come back with a renewed sense of purpose than just kind of keeping working through. So they talk about taking brief breaks and enjoying them, and wherever those can be. Not a lot of them necessarily, but a few. If we break up our day a bit with some periods of deep breathing, some periods of relaxation, stress management kind of stuff during periodic review day, we work most efficiently and we work more effectively. Take time off. You have work, you have vacation time or accrued PTO. It's important to take it off, not accumulate it, and not lose it, certainly. If you don't know what your structure here is at DAB St. John's. But I know I used to accumulate work and get to the end of the year. I took vacation time, but we were pretty generous. But at the end of the year, I always would have more time than I could pull over. So I always had to negotiate. My negotiating tactic with my bosses at the time were, you know, all you management folks, you want to be gone for the week, the week between Christmas and New Year's in particular. We ought to have one management guy here. So I tell you what, I'll hang out. And I wasn't really giving up anything because my sons and their families were here in town. It wasn't like I was going to go anyplace. But the trade-off then is I get to carry an extra week over because I can't take this time off, you know, because we need a manager here. So I'd always volunteer, and then I'd get it taken care of in the next couple of weeks. But take time off. They talk about, again, the folks that study this kind of things, taking a week off at a time oftentimes isn't enough. It takes a couple of days to unwind, and then we get into the relaxed state, and then we get back towards Saturday and Sunday, and for the last 2 days, we're starting to gear back up. So think about it, you take a week off, 4 of your days are winding down or gearing up. That only gives you really 3 days of downtime. So they talk about 10 days to 2 weeks are kind of important to have to get enough time in. Now, some of us may be able to get away with it, but consider that. Where do you get enough downtime, legitimate downtime, where you are doing whatever it is that you'd like to do in leisure time? Okay? I'm not trying to create new connections. Okay, there's not a mouse up here, that'll be interesting. Okay. And then using technology to work smarter. How many different electronic healthcare records have you endured in the last 5 years? You got a new one coming in? Huh? Why is it that every time we get a new healthcare record, we are promised that you're going to love it, it's so intuitive, and it's going to reduce the amount of time spent doing paperwork? How's that work for you? Never worked for me. I've gone through 7 or 8 of them in the last 10 years or so. We have a new one at Encompass. It's the same software system, but the new updated version. So they increased the new updated version, but didn't increase the wave band on the server system. So it now takes between 30 and 45 seconds to change screens. So when I'm making my next appointment for a person, click, copy, go out a week. 30 to 45 seconds before that screen comes up. Oh, 4 on that day, let's go to the next day. Oh, let's go to the next week. So we've got 3 or 4 minutes. And I feel worse for the person, the client that I'm trying to schedule for than me, because I gotta be there for X number of hours anyway. They don't. Takes forever. I pointed out to my boss, and she was saying, well, we're gonna upgrade the servers and everything's gonna be fine. I said, I'm not absolutely convinced of that, because the equipment that we have is ancient. I'm not sure if the equipment works, because when I do it from home, on my equipment, it goes much faster. Now, it's also true that I'm doing it rarely, but I'm doing it at night or on a Saturday to catch up on some paperwork. And that's rare for me. I get it done before I leave here generally. But it goes much faster on my home computer. Now, I'll grant you that no one else is on the system, so I don't know if that's accurate or not. But that's something you may have to consider. Okay? So, and there's more things to put in. And I know there's a learning curve to it, and I'm sure that if the speed thing gets resolved, you get used to doing the other. But being able to use it in a way that is not taking more time, not using up more of our mental time, our brain time, or our physical time, going to be important. Again, the other, depending on whether you're on call or not, to what degree can you not look at your work emails when you're not at work? How often can you not have to check those things out? Okay. When I travel, if I'm on going someplace either for pleasure or work on my own, week after next I'll be down in Baltimore for a week presenting at a World Congress. Once a day I will check my Encompass email. I will take 10 minutes.